Welcome back to another episode of Not Your Average Joe and Dad. And today we'll be talking about some of my first deer kills and some of my dad's.
Yeah, it's that time of year where you get ready for deer season and kind of thinking back to how it started and some of the fun that you've had and I've had. I'm not sure you've heard some of my stories. Maybe you have.
No.
But before we do that, just give me an update. What have you been doing?
So we've been doing baseball practice.
Yeah.
We started homeschool back.
Yeah, you started school. First day of fifth grade.
Yep.
Oh, look at you, big boy.
And we've been watching Harry Potter.
Yeah, you've been watching a little Harry Potter, getting introduced to that. But we went and updated everybody when we left. We were going to go set some trail cameras. You put out a little video on YouTube and kind of the day we had. Tell me, what all did we do?
So we went to the first spot on the pipeline and we set up a deer stand.
We hung some sticks.
My bad. And then we walked around the creek because Dad was shooting across the creek and set up a camera with some bait on it.
Yeah. Now remember, whenever you say that, you got to say what?
It's legal in Mississippi. And then we set up another camera with some bait on the mill road.
Yeah. Kind of where we had some success last year. You know, the bait's a hot topic. Kind of where we're at, there's people feeding on either side of you, and you really don't see. I'm hunting this one spot. It's a creek with a high peninsula and all this, and it's a beautiful travel area. You'll see some deer, but really to kind of take an inventory just of anything there, you have to put some out. Can't say I'm the biggest fan of it, but you see a difference when you do and when you don't. I mean, because in 100 yards of either direction of this place, there's people feeding corn and all sorts of stuff. So that's a topic for a different day. But we hung those. Joe, like I said, shot a little YouTube video. You can check that out on our YouTube channel. And we've been getting some deer, nothing crazy. Yeah, some does and a couple of nice little basket rack deer, but so far nothing that has my attention for the early velvet season. That's
Most
for sure.
of it is raccoons and crows.
Yeah, not as many crows, and the raccoons haven't been as bad this year as normal, but hasn't been that bad. And sorry, Joe was trying to talk off of his microphone. He doesn't understand how this works. But yeah, so not too bad. Baseball has been going good. We had actually our practice got rained out tonight, and that's about it. You gonna get in your microphone and talk?
Yes.
Okay. But we wanted to start off with like some stories, kind of getting that deer frame of mind. Joe's first deer, his true first deer, talk about a couple of mine. So let's talk about your very first deer.
So I was like 4 years old and we were hunting on, can't remember what it's called, but so Dad saw a little button buck walk out and he got on the scope and it walked across, it got in the middle and he so
Lost your train of thought, huh?
Yeah. He lined up the scope and let me pull the trigger.
Yeah, that was when you were real little.
Yeah, I was like 4 years old.
Kind of. And Joe had been coming hunting with me probably the year prior. And, you would pack in more toys and snacks than you would anything else.
I remember on that hunt, I packed like a little transformer toy and I had a blanket and a pillow.
Yep. You'd have to make you comfortable. Blanket, pillow, toys.
And that same hunt, didn't we? Or it wasn't the same hunt. We had like an 8-point walk literally right next to us under the stand.
I don't remember that. I just remember you. So yeah, the deer came out and it was low light. It was within legal shooting light, but came out and, when you're 4 and this was a 300 Win Mag with a suppressor on it. And it was set up in a tripod or something. I don't remember, but
it was a tripod.
Yeah, helped him line the scope up and had him pull the trigger. And then we got out there and celebrated. And actually, I'm pretty sure I have pictures and video of you actually dragging this deer when you're 4 or 5 years old trying to drag the deer by yourself.
I struggled.
But so that kind of kicked it off, and you've been full send ever since.
Yeah. And then, why don't you tell us about your first deer?
So I guess I need to tell a story to tell a story. most people probably wouldn't expect this because literally all we do is hunt and eat wild game and talk about it. I mean, it literally is our life. But I'm what they call the what is it? The adult offset hunter or something of that nature. I didn't start hunting until I was 20. I did not hunt when I was a kid. I didn't hunt when I was a teenager. Couple reasons for that. I lived with, kind of on a little farm. We had horses, and I grew up with guns, and I was running around the woods on a horse when I was 7 with a 22, playing cowboys and Indians and all that stuff. So I've always been around it, but I started playing music professionally when I was 12. So I was playing guitar and doing that, professionally at the age of 12. And with that line of work, you're normally out late at night. So getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning to go hunt wasn't really high on my radar. And then as I got a little bit older, not a little bit older, I was pretty competitive in baseball. And when you hit the high school world, you're waking up early to go work out and you're doing all this stuff. And then I started working at 15. So you had all that in, and I didn't do any hunting. Started hunting when I was in college. My best friend in college, David, his parents got some land outside of the city we lived in. And we went out there and actually set it up. We built out the room to sleep in and marked all the trails and made all the trails and hung all the deer stands and did all the things. So I just really got involved then. But the actual first year came probably 20, maybe 21 with Mr. Chris. He took me hunting one day
Oh,
and set me up on, I think he was in a deer camp at that time. And it's kind of like one of those things. It's like, hey, go down here, take a right, do this, blah, blah, blah. You'll see the shooting house. And I saw the shooting house, and it wasn't like anyone I've been in. I, or up until that point, you had to climb through the bottom of it, kind of like had a little hatch door, and the chair sat on it. And nonetheless, I remember I was shooting a Winchester Model 70 in a 30-06 that I had bought from Gander Mountain. Terrible gun. I mean, Model 70s are great guns, but compared to what I shoot now and the triggers, I mean, the trigger was probably 10 pounds. It wasn't good, and
really?
who knows what kind of scope I had on it. I was very involved in guns and had a bunch of guns, especially when I turned 21. But hunting rifles and that kind of thing were new to me, so just bought kind of what I thought was a legendary gun and had a doe come out, and yeah, that was my first one. I don't remember the details of it. I remember her coming out and me shooting, and I wanna say I was looking into the sun, and it was kind of a pipeline, so you could look left or right, and it was probably not a far shot, like 60 yards, 70 yards, and, she fell right over, and my buddy Chris came and helped me load it up, and then kinda showed me how to skin one for the first time, and I remember him and this was impressive, and I'll give him credit for this. He was wearing a white shirt and got 0 blood on him whatsoever
What?
as he was skinning it and showing me, and it's kinda funny now I process all of his stuff for him, and so when he kills elk or anything, he hunts, kind of all over, and now when he kills something, he brings it to me, and I cut it up and package it up and tell him, what cut to eat here, and you need to try this, and you'll like this, and so it's kind of full circle
Oh,
moment.
how the tables have
That's
turned.
very true, they have turned. I'm definitely way more involved, but ever since then, it's been 100% full send. It is the my life now. I mean, that is what we do, pretty much all the time, and it's been a fun ride. So it's about I'm almost 20, 19 years in, you could say, of full send. So that was my very, very first one.
Mhm.
No,
And
now,
then my very first one that I killed, like, by myself, I was using, what, a 300 Blackout?
yeah. So I actually have an SBR legal. It's registered, and it was a 10-inch barrel. It's actually a Daniel Defense MK18.
It was a 10-inch barrel?
Yeah, it's 10.3-inch barrel, but it had a suppressor on it. It is a Daniel Defense MK18, which is actually a 5.56 round. But when I got the gun, I bought a matching upper. So I had a 300 blackout upper with a 1 through 6 loophole VX6. And then I had the standard MK18 stuff. So, nice setup. But I had Joe. We were actually, well, here, you finish the story.
Okay, had to give you the stink eye before
Yeah,
you
I
get
know.
back to me.
I know.
Um, so I'm gonna just point this out first. I was the only one ever to kill deer out of this blind in this particular spot.
Yeah, I think so. I watched a lot of deer, but never shot one.
Mm. So I was set up in the right corner of the blind, looking down a little path we had cut, and Dad was sitting to the right of me
Sitting
and
to the left of you.
to the left of
Yeah,
me.
you were in the front right corner of the blind.
And we watched a few does, and then we had a spike come out, and didn't we have that stuff that made him eat a tree, like a dead tree?
I think we had just set up a mineral lick. Is what they call that. That had been kind of a long-standing mineral lick the deer come into.
And so he walked out. He was just behind a tree, and I was like 5 years old when I shot this, and
you may have been 6.
5.
5? Okay, I'm
Because
old
ever
enough.
since I shot the button buck, I always got a buck every year.
Okay.
And so it was right in between two trees, the vitals, and Dad was like, "Don't shoot," and then it walked out to where I could see it, and its vitals were just in front of the tree, so I could see the vitals, and I shot, and it did the big kick with its back legs and took off, and then we saw blood, we tracked it, we called one of our friends, Ed, to come help us, and we were walking, and I saw some really beat up ground. I was like, the deer's gotta be around here. And I took 2 more steps, and I saw the eyes glowing. And then we took some pictures, celebrated, took it back to the shed, and skinned it.
Yeah, so let me fill in some of this story, kind of how I remember it. The one thing I remember is it was getting pretty late.
Yes, it was.
It was getting dark, and I was getting worried Joe wasn't gonna have a
It was
shot.
like 30 minutes before.
No,
No,
you were
an
probably
hour.
5 minutes before legal shooting light was over. I mean,
5?
yeah, we were almost done and not gonna be able to have a shot, and Joe was on the gun solely. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't around the gun, so this is his first true solo deer, and, we were watching it, and, it was about a 65-yard shot. It wasn't.
Yeah, this was a very
It was
thick
pretty
spot.
close, and I remember it because with that gun, I used Barnes 110 TSXX or TXS or something. Black tip 110 grain Barnes, and they're great out of that gun. But I remember you shooting and seeing the deer, but kind of the part of the story that I like is we went down and track it and in the dark with a 5-year-old, he can shoot and he killed a deer, but you're walking around the woods and you got to keep up with him. You got to look at trying to see where the blood is, where you're going. And we had Ed come over and help us. And me and Ed were actually walking in another direction. We were following what we thought was another direction. And Joe was like, "Hey, look at this. Look at this." And he was closer to the ground. And
It was beat up ground.
so we actually, we went the way Joe said to go, which was kind of cool. And that ended up being the deer, and it was probably about 25 yards in front of where we turned off. So the deer probably didn't run 50 yards. It was an absolute beautiful shot. And yeah, we recovered that deer. And, so if you noticed, we have a theme. His very first one was a button buck, went to a spike. And every year when he was little,
I would get a buck.
we don't shoot. We try not to shoot young deer, right? But when you're a little kid, you kind of get the benefit of the doubt on that. But
So, can I say
sure,
something?
yeah.
So, my first one was a button buck. My second one was a spike. Wasn't my third one a 3-point?
Yeah, 3 or 4 point.
And then my fourth one was a 4-point. And then my fifth one was like
6 point.
another, 6-point.
Well, you had a couple years there where you killed a couple. Your first true rag buck was a 6 point,
Mm-hmm.
and then an 8 point. So what I was getting at is the rule is you have to, when you're Joe's age, you have to shoot something bigger than you did last year. We're not going to shoot every spike we see. We're not shooting the button bucks. That was great for your first one. But we're not going to do that. We're going to let those deer live. And so, it's like if you've followed us at all, Joe shot. Did you shoot 2 bucks last year?
Last year I shot 3. Last year I shot 2. I shot a 6-point and an 8-point, and then the year before I shot a 10-point. I mean, not a 10-point, a 6-point.
I was about to say, where'd you do that at? But like the 6-point was bigger than you shot the year before, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So we're always trying to move up. So this year, we'll have to see how it goes, but we're going for something pretty nice. And while we're talking about it, I want to talk about your 6-point. I know we're getting off of the subject
Which
real
one?
quick. The 6-point that you shot B10.
That
because
was always a good
this
one.
was your first rack buck, and I
Yeah.
love this one.
And I was like,
Yeah, this actually here Joe actually did a grunt call. This probably would have been post rut, but you would have been 7, I think.
yeah, 7.
And he wanted to hit a grunt call, and so I was like, "Fine, hit a grunt call." So he did a couple grunts. Next thing I know, this deer comes running into the field, and I'm like, "Joe, it's a buck, it's a buck." And he stands up to try to shoot,
And I
and
go,
he's shaking, but he falls down.
yes, I do.
He literally his legs shook so hard that he fell down
While I was trying to get to the gun.
while he was trying to get to the gun, and I had to pick him up, get him behind the gun, and it was just a debacle. I don't know how that deer didn't run because when he fell, the rifle barrel hit the outside window, and
I remember it went bang.
yeah, and got him on the gun. He made a shot. Wasn't the best shot in the world. It being his first rack buck, I backed out and called a guy I knew with the dog, and we ended up recovering the deer, and all was well. But
It was a little back.
it was a little back, but hey, got the job done.
Mm-mm.
Did the right thing, backed out, got a dog. But my favorite part of that story is you were shaking so bad that you fell down, and I was laughing. I mean, I don't know how that deer didn't run
Oh,
away,
wait,
but
no. I shot the back leg.
no, you shot it back. We'll worry about that later. But I just like the fact that you did a grunt call. It came in and you fell down. You were shaking so bad. Buck fever so bad you literally
Yes.
fell down. So let's pause for a second. Why don't you give me your tip of the week before I tell you my other story?
So, my
This is
tip,
because we were hanging trail cameras
yeah,
and it fits because everybody right now is probably putting out trail cameras.
if you're in Mississippi.
There's people putting out trail cameras all over.
Yeah. So, the tip of the week is you should always try to have your camera pointing north because that makes it to where the sun will cast less shadow, the least amount of shadows, so it doesn't trigger your camera.
Well, one of the point north is definitely right. One of the main reasons is you don't have the sun glare directly in the lens of the camera. So, like, when the sun comes up, it's in the east, sun sets, it's in the west. So, if you have it pointing due north, you never get that direct glare of sunlight like straight into the camera. So you don't have what they call washouts in your pictures and stuff. But if you can, always try to point it. We always operate on trying to point it north if you can. So that's Joe's hot tip of the week. So I'll tell you about mine. This is one of my favorite stories.
This is his first buck.
Yeah, it is. So I don't remember the time frame. I don't have pictures of my deer from back in, when I was doing this. It was on my buddy's parents' place. They had about 300 acres, maybe 350, and we had, done all the work. So I knew the place real well. And it was primitive weapon. And this was before Mississippi changed their primitive weapon to like straight wall cartridge, or I say straight wall, like a 35 rim or 35 Wheeling or 444 Marlin. They didn't have that rule. So I had bought a muzzle loader, probably from Gander Mountain in Hattiesburg. It was around that area. And I don't know if it was a Knight or a Thompson. It may have been a cheap Thompson Center. And you load in your powder and you put your bullet in and you put your primer cap in.
Do you remember if you were using a ball or more of a?
No, you used a bullet projectile. They make
That's what I
it
thought.
looks like a bullet, and you push it
And
in.
it has rifling on it.
Yeah, it's your standard 209 primer cap inline muzzle loader is what they call it. Synthetic stock, no scope. So this is iron sights. And I'm hunting by myself. There's not another person around, nobody at camp. It was literally just me. And I remember it being late in the morning. So this would have been like 11 or 12 o'clock because I want to say I was late getting there because I had to drive about an hour to get there. And I actually rattled. And
It's been a while since I've seen you rattle.
yeah, I rattled. I did a whole like rattle grunt sequence type of thing.
Oh.
And I look up and probably 2 minutes after I put the rattles down, this deer comes running in at full speed from my right. And he stops, 10 yards in front of the stand.
Holy moly.
And it's kind of cold. And it's one of those, it's like a photo. I kind of wish I would have had it on video. Because he's standing and it's like got that kind of mist in the air that you can see because it's kind of cold. And he's breathing heavy and like you see it coming out of his nose. It was real pretty. And I picked my gun up, and I'm sure I was shaking. And he walked a little more because he's looking to fight, right? And I remember putting that muzzleloader on him and pulling the trigger. And you've never shot a muzzleloader,
No, I've never even seen a muzzleloader.
yeah? But people that have know what I'm talking about. I pull the trigger, and I don't know if I killed the deer or not because
Yeah,
all you see is smoke.
I do know that from the Hunter Call a while. It's like a big poof.
Yeah, it's just like an explosion and smoke everywhere. And when it clears, there's no deer standing there. And
Hmm.
I remember, I just remember that. It was like, and then nothing. It's like and I get down and I see blood. And I end up, the deer, I smoked him. He did not go 20 yards. He was on the kind of the end of the plot or to the side of the plot in the trees. And so pulled him out and skinned him, got him back to the camp. And that may have been one of my first skinning jobs by myself, to be honest.
What do you remember how much points it had?
It was an 8 point.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was an 8 point. It wasn't a big 8 point.
Didn't the dog steal that?
That's coming up. So at this point, I would have been 23 because I'd already bought a house. And so I was living at my house that I'd bought. And I remember skinning it head to head. I was going to do a Euro mount on it. And I cleaned it all up and actually had one of those fire pits in the backyard with like a lid on it and all that kind of stuff. Like one you buy from Walmart or something. I don't know. And I took the deer head and put it in there that night, covered it up, put the lid on it, covered it up. And because I couldn't take it anywhere. And I'll be darned, the next day the lid is off of the fire pit and my deer head is nowhere to be seen.
Hmm.
There's an animal that came in the night and I'll say took the lid off, removed the lid in some form or fashion and took the entire deer head.
Didn't you see paw prints?
That I don't remember. So I never saw that deer again. My first buck became somebody's chew toy.
Did you not have a fence around your yard?
No.
Hmm.
No, this is like a little house with 3 acres. There wasn't a fence.
3 acres.
Yeah. And so yeah, that was my first real buck by myself. And I kept all the meat. Like I said, you can't eat horns, but it would have been nice to have like a little memento. Now all I have are the memories, as they say. But I mean, ever since then I've been full send. Because on that same field, I was hunting one day. I was bow hunting. This is right when I started bow. As soon as I started hunting, I started bow hunting too. Because I grew up shooting bows like you do. I just never hunted. And I remember this was a ladder stand, 2-man ladder stand, and I had my friend Dylan with me. And so we're sitting in this ladder stand, and we had a doe walk out, and it was a long shot. At that time, I had no business taking a shot. It was about 38 yards. And I just remember I pulled back and I was shaking.
Nowadays, it's not a far shot.
No, it depends on, the work you put in, but I was shaking so bad. She was perfectly broadside and I flew it over her back. But that was on the same field I killed that buck on, probably the same year.
So you missed it?
Yeah, I didn't even come close to hitting that deer. A couple of shots, probably that same year I missed a coyote too.
What?
Yeah, with my bow. And hindsight, you learn, right? So all the experiences you have in the woods, you learn. And with both those deer, the deer and the coyote were probably within a week of each other, both out of a ladder stand type of situation. And I realized I was flying over them because I was using a rangefinder, and they were both about 35. And anyway, long story short, I realized I needed to aim lower. With your elevation, you probably tuck it in a little bit tighter, a little bit lower. So I kind of learned from that, and I don't think the rangefinder I had at that point had the this probably predates actually the what they call a horizontal compensation, so it actually takes into account the angle that you're shooting from. So your what they call like line of sight distance is a little bit shorter type thing, and so didn't have all of that, and so I learned some hard lessons that year on bow hunting. But I think I killed probably my first deer with a bow that year too. 18 yards, I was a lot better and recovered her. So there's some good times to kind of think about. But I always find it funny to think about when you started hunting to where you are now, and to when I started hunting, even being 20, it's all new. And I do think you learn different when you come into something as an adult. You learn it in a different capacity, probably a little more in depth. For you, this is all you've ever known. But for me, it was like something I went in head first on. It's like I didn't do it, and now I do. And I learned a different way, and I think you learn You just learn probably a little more in depth, maybe with a little more purpose when you're an adult learning how to do something than when you're a child, So
Mhm.
it's very different to see where I started and where you started and to kind of where we are now. And I mean, to say we're full sin, I mean, this is what we do all the time,
Mhm.
turkeys, deer, whatever it may be. So it's always fun to think about the times when you didn't know what you were doing and
Yeah.
learning from those. Still don't know what I'm doing, and we're still learning. I mean, I think we had a lot of lessons last year.
Mhm.
You definitely get to experience that with turkeys, probably more than deer, in my opinion. I should have done this, should have done that. But every time you're in the woods, you're learning something, and it's kind of fun to think about. And it's kind of fun to think about all these first experiences we had coming into kind of a new season.
Uh,
What do you think about that?
Good.
Yeah, what's gonna be your first this year? First 10-pointer? Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, if we can find it.
And,
It's yeah,
going back to my, shooting a buck every year,
uh-huh,
I only shot my first doe was, like, 2 years ago.
yeah, and you've made up for that.
Uh,
You're doing the bulk of the doe cleaning for us.
yeah. We only shoot does, like, in the beginning of the year, like, when we just, need to warm up or something.
No, you just before rut. So Mississippi has a very in relation to the rest of the country, has a very late rut.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, like, peak rut in most places is, like, October 30th through November
Really?
6th. Oh, yeah. And for us, it's still 95 degrees in October, and you can only bow hunt Mississippi at that time. So for us, where we're at, our rut kicks in right around Christmas,
Uh-huh.
and they don't really start hitting pre-rut till early December.
So most Christmases, we leave after everything that happens.
Yeah. So, when it comes to like, you don't really want to, if you're trying to kill a mature buck or something like that, you don't need to shoot the first doe you see during rut. So
Uh-huh.
I want to say youth season starts around November 8th or 9th here.
And we
Um,
killed a doe on the 2nd day,
yeah.
like,
And so
2
normally
2
I
years
tell
ago.
we go ahead and start filling the freezer well before rut.
Yes,
Go
we
ahead,
do.
go ahead and get a couple does down. And then we don't, I'm not sure we shot any after the
And
rut.
then no, because after the rut, if we, didn't get enough meat, we'll start
Yeah,
shooting some
we
does.
kind of do a freezer check and see. Mississippi has a very liberal limit. We have deer everywhere. It's actually 5 does per person and 3.
This year, isn't it, like, 6
Yeah, the
does?
last 2 years they've told you to shoot 6 does, so you can get 6 does and
And
3
3
bucks
bucks.
per person. So it's a very, very liberal limit, and not saying you should max it out every time, but we never have, but we still keep the freezer full. So aside from that, we got probably need to go walk around and scout some more places,
Yeah.
set up a few more sticks.
Find a new shooting range.
Yeah, we've kind of lost our land at camp that has the shooting range. I'm not worried about that, but I'm gearing up on the horizon. I got head to Texas October 1st.
And then you have an elk hunt.
Yeah. So really, those are kind of the things on the forefront of my mind. I got, the velvet season. I will definitely go because I can, but as of right now, I don't see anything on camera that I would shoot, but I'll still be there. But Texas is a big one. Me and my buddy Chase are going down there again this year. And then the thing probably really on my mind is Montana.
Yeah.
Rucking every day with weight and doing weighted step ups and going to the gym and just trying to get in decent enough shape where I don't die on a mountain in Montana. So,
Isn't it a, male mule deer and a male elk?
yeah, it's called the Big Game General Combo. So you can shoot a legal bull and a legal mule deer or whitetail. They call it a deer tag. So you can technically shoot either. So really, a lot of my focus is kind of that trip because that's a pretty big trip outside of what I normally do. Luckily, I have a few buddies up that way and some decent direction, and I'm sure you'll hear more about that. But right now, it's all about trying to get in shape for the mountains. So
And then, next Friday, I'm going to the beach.
yeah, you're going to the beach. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not,
not.
I'm not a beach person.
He hates the beach.
I do. Yeah, if the beach had a mountain, I'd probably be there. But
It has some pretty good sand dunes.
yeah, I'm out. I have no desire. So, and we've been shooting our bows a pretty good bit.
Yes.
Sometimes multiple times a day, which is great. Joe's getting me out there to shoot because he wants to shoot his. So
Yes.
we've been having fun doing that.
And there's a certain release that Dad is not good with.
Yeah, I was just trying a different release, but the one I've used literally for 20 years is the one that I shoot best with.
Yes.
I've
The
tried
one that you're bad with is actually the Cam Hanes one, isn't
It
it?
is, yeah. It's I'm a wrist strap kind of traditional finger release guy. I'm not a just what I've always shot. I've tried the thumb releases and all the ones, and
Thumb.
yeah, I can't do it. And I haven't, honestly, if I'm being fair, I haven't put in time to figure out how to do it because I'll go shoot those bad, grab the release I've had for 20 years, put it on, and I'm back center. I mean, you saw that when I
Yeah.
was shooting the other day. I shot a group and it wasn't good, and it was left or right or wherever it was, and then I go get my release and it's right where it should be.
Mhm.
So, you know, I'm not the best archer in the world. I just try to, I try to be good enough to kill a deer, and that's about the extent of where I want to go with it.
Have you
So,
tried a teeth release yet?
oh, what? No, I'm not Remy Warren. Not even close. I'm not shooting with a leather tab in my teeth. Now, if I break an arm or have surgery like he did, maybe I'll try it, but that's not me. So, got anything else you want to talk about?
Have you tried your feet?
No, that's not me either, man. I'm doing good enough to try to hit something with the bow and the arms that I have. So, all right. Well, have you thought of a joke?
Oh, this is a emergency joke, so
Okay.
it's not gonna be the best.
Okay.
But what is a deer's favorite relative?
What?
It's antler.
Huh. Okay. That could have been worse.
I know.
Wasn't your best stuff,
It was
but
an emergency joke.
it was not your best, but not your worst. So
No.
I'll give it a 4 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah, maybe that may be strong, but maybe I'm leaning in your direction. So 4 out of 10. All right. Anything else?
This is Joe Messina signing off.
All right. We'll see y'all next time.